If you do look forward and see a difficult economic time coming, you probably want to get more defensive. But are the defensive areas of the market already too expensive to hide out in? What do you think of valuations?
So look, it depends where you're looking, right? Which region of the world you're looking at. Typically, yes, across the US space, anything but small and mid cap is looking expensive. You made a really good point about the large cap. Is it a growth play, or is it a defensive play, or is it a duration play? It's a bit of a duration play at this stage. It's not really a kind of a defensive growth environment at the moment, or at least that's not going to play well in a defensive growth environment. But if you're looking outside of the US, valuations are still pretty cheap. So for us, again, this is a time to look outside the US. Where are you going to find at least a bit of exposure, which is still a little bit defensive in this atmosphere, but at least is somewhat attractive, and you can get some relative gains. At the moment, the US has got so much riding against it. It's got a looming economic downturn, which is really driven by those small and regional banks, which are going to pull down on lending. And then on top of that, you've got valuations, which are extremely expensive. So for us, there's very little to be attractive about this US market at this stage.
Okay, so Seema, where ex-US then?
There's actually a lot of opportunities outside of the US at the moment. So we do have an overweight to emerging markets, really driven by that China story. It hasn't been a very, very strong rebound. We're not expecting it to be a sudden burst in energy coming out from that part of the world. But it will be moving in a different direction to what at least you're seeing in the US. So we think there is a little bit to play. The other thing you do find is that investors are still very skeptical about the China story. They don't quite believe in it. So I think there's a little bit further to run there. And then from a relative standpoint, Europe, with a lot of its difficulties that are going on, I think that still deserves a bit of a neutral, but it's overweight, at least relative to the US.